Alright, let's start this up. So I just finished reading whatever, the Carly Rae Jason whatever video, and my brother wanted me to read this. Apparently there's a picture for it. This is the picture. As you guys can see, Slenderman's right there in the forest. For some reason the quality of the picture is not too crappy. I mean, so I would say it's fake. I don't know. My cousin's Slenderman encounter. I read this off of my phone because I'm a loser. Anyone who has just joined, welcome. Anyone who has been here and listened since hell if I know. Thanks for listening. I'm glad you stuck around for some reason. So I guess let's start this up. My cousin's Slenderman encounter. In late 2006, my half-cousin Scott Howard joined the Marines and was deported to Iraq for his duties. I was proud of him for wanting to risk his life to serve our country. In late 2007, just a year after he was sent, he came home with a Purple Heart. Only soldiers that are injured in battle can take home such a badge. Although when he came back, he wasn't the same man he was when he left. He suffered from a lot of depression problems and pretty much sealed himself off from the rest of my family. Every once in a while, he had stories to tell about his time in war. They were very interesting stories. But just a few weeks ago, Scott told me probably the most terrifying war story I've ever heard in my life. One that I truly will never forget. Alright, so I'm guessing this is the story now? I'm guessing, no. My brother recommended this story, like I said, maybe, I don't know if I say it, but whatever. On the night of October 11th, 2007, just less than a month before he was sent home, he encountered something that was scarier than anything he had experienced before in the war. Him and his squad were setting up camp for the night in the middle of nowhere, as they were about to call it a night. They began hearing strange noises outside their tent. Scott and one of his parents, Lieutenant Ronnie Iron Fisher, Iron is in quotation marks, Lieutenant Ronnie Iron Fisher, as they called him, went outside to check out the noises. Out in the distance, they saw something tall and skinny arise from the darkness slowly. The rest of Scott's squad came out, guns drawn, using his night vision goggles. Fisher looked at the thing and noticed in one of its hands it was carrying the remains of another soldier's uniform. It started walking towards them at a fast pace. Scott and the rest of the squad aimed their guns towards the thing, prepared for a fatal shootout. He began yelling and ordering it to freeze, or they would have no choice but to open fire. As it came closer, he could finally describe what this thing looked like. He paused. He sat there frozen. His skin became extremely pale and his eyes grew wide, almost as if he had just seen a ghost. Tears began filling his eyes and rolling down his cheeks as I asked him to go on. After about maybe 30 seconds, he pulled himself together and, although reluctant to go on, he continued with the story. As the thing got closer, Scott pulled out a flashlight. He described it as a tall and slender being with arms that almost touched the ground. He then looked at its face. He began hysterically crying, but managed to come to and describe it. Scott's exact words to me were, "Its face. There was nothing there." I felt my blood suddenly started to run cold. Lieutenant Fisher ordered his men to open fire on this creature. As they began shooting, the creature flew into the air and disappeared. The soldiers looked at each other with their confusion and fear. They decided to radio for backup, but unfortunately, they would have to wait a few hours until help arrived. Scott then told me he fell asleep in the tent when the backup finally arrived. He woke up, and the rest of his squad was missing. There were no remains, no blood or anything left behind for evidence. All that was left were two very big scratches on his back. He showed me these scratches before, but he told me that it was just an accident he got into while driving a Jeep. He came to the conclusion that this slender man came and took the members of his unit away somewhere and left those scratches as some sort of warning. He was airlifted back to HQ just 50 miles south of his camp setup. He was treated for his wounds on his back. He recalled how he couldn't sleep at night, knowing the Slenderman would come after him. He lived in fear and paranoia for the rest of the time he was there. Eventually, he went insane and shot himself in the foot in order to go home, which would explain his Purple Heart badge. He then went on to say how every single night since his encounter, he has had vivid nightmares of the Slenderman and tells me that it watches him. As he finished the story, he began crying once again. I managed to calm him down. I asked him if he was all right. He looked at me with eyes from hell and told me something I will never forget. That face will haunt me until the day I die, which I know is very soon. Oh, by the way, here is something I think I have failed to mention. Scott has been missing over a week now. I'm not sure if it has something to do with the story, or this Slenderman thing, but if anyone has any information regarding his whereabouts, I'd appreciate it if you told me. Support our troops. What in the hell? So, a war soldier gone missing now, I guess? I don't know. It was a pretty decent story, I guess. Although, I don't think Slenderman would be in Iraq. I mean, just a thought. That's the only thing that threw me off there. I mean, it's a decent story nonetheless, but come on. Why would Slenderman be in Iraq? I'm pretty sure it was an old tale back in Germany. But that will be saved for another day. But for now, basically, I guess I am done for now. I guess I'm done. I never got my apple juice. That sucks. This was about a little over 7 minutes, so I guess that's it. So, thank you everybody for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and fare thee well. Hope you all had a nice time, good evening, good morning, good night, whatever. Goodbye.